Just being able to turn the tables really against 14,000 gold is insane. We'll see exactly what APBR wants to do, given the fact that game one, hey, they were ahead for so long and it got flipped so quickly. As we jump into the draft, game number 2 here. ONIC now drawing first blood in the series, up 1-0 in the best of 5. You can already see the bands coming out. The Phobius, Matilda, not going to be a part of the picture anymore, as ONIC takes that out alongside the Faramis. On the flip side, APBR taking out the 1-1. Valentina, Kaja. What does this open for first pick for ONIC?
I mean, the Nolan again?
Yeah.
The Nolan again, right? I mean, yes, he got completely denied due to the Phobius, but that is gone now. But I just can't get over the amount of respect for themselves that these two teams have, willing to open up the Gwyn, willing to open up. The Joy is also still there as well. Last time, that was one of the last bans. This time it is going to be free, so do they want to give that over to Kyle Teasy here, or do they want to go for the Guinevere again? Maybe switch it up with the Phobius gone this time. Do they pick up the Bruno? That was something that really helped CW out last time. Yes, ONIC was eventually able to scale. Lilia also opened so many options for these two teams.
Speaking of, strike it while it's hot. APBR holds a 100% win rate in games under 18 minutes. That's 12 games now. The last one was what, 22? I think it was around the 22 mark or so.
Yeah, it passed 20. It passed 18 for sure,
It was around like
right?
22, 23.
Yeah, 22, 23. So that's the winning condition for APBR. They had the 15,000 gold lead. They just need to end it now a bit earlier, and that's maybe what they're trying to do here with the Arlet pickup, right? They need someone to display some of these members. When they are in that base, FlapTZ couldn't find an angle to get a Raging Sandstorm.
Yeah. Not only that, but you know, again, when you have that kind of lead, it still does pay off to be a little more disciplined, right? Don't overcommit, but then sometimes you risk that, right? Things turning topsy-turvy basically on your head, and that's kind of what happened. Now with the Arlot, will it solve some of that? Because you also, once again, you have this Guinevere where we saw an amazing game the previous one. So the answers from ONIC this time around, they're going to pick up the Novaria. They've got the Terizla. Once again, Novaria though, I like it because of the fact that you now provide some vision. This is one of the struggles that Kyrie had in the previous game, was looking for his own entry points, right? That's the struggle, but now with the Novaria, that'll help. And there's the answer once again. APBR is going to pick up Claude here for Super Marco, a signature hero pick.
Yeah, and something else that can dive into the back line, try to lock on a Novaria, be harder to hit for the Novaria, but because ONIC doesn't lock in a gold lane this early, Coach Ducky gonna start closing in on that. Take out the Bruno, maybe even take out another Brody, something like that. Definitely a possibility. CW does do wonderful on it. On the side of ONIC, they don't think this Arlet's going to be an EXP laner, huh?
There's an Arlet, there's a Gwyn, right? Both can be flex, so
Yeah.
ONIC are like, you know what? That gave us a lot of problems, right? Let's ban that out from the get-go
Just
now.
in case.
Take it away from Mr. Flap.
I mean, APBR literally played the Phobius mid lane last time, and they played it wonderfully. I would not put anything past them at this point, but looking at ONIC also, the Novaria, I mean, it's not done very often, but it could be flexed over to the roam position. I mean, you know ID a little bit more. Do we ever really see Keyboy play something on the more support side?
We have. Multiple times. You know, the Novaria even, it was, I believe, once in MPL Indonesia, but he plays a lot of the supports, even the Rafaela, back when it was meta.
Yeah,
that's how flexible he's been, right? He can use the healers, but also, that has just been banned away. No one moment, one win anymore.
That was when we were again talking about like what is the win condition. Let's imagine here, well, that hero right there, just take it out of the picture. It's handled. Paquito also still taken out, focusing on that XP lane against APBR here. ONIC still trying to get this favorable matchup if they can. Now, one thing too is you guys talked about it, right? Really that kind of double mage setup. If the Novaria does go in the roam and then you can still provide something in the mid lane, you know, exactly what would that be? The fact that Valentina's taken out here, you have to work around that. Minotaur, though, going to be locked in for APBR for that 4th pick.
I almost feel like maybe they didn't plan on putting the Arlot, or if they did put it in mid, it was going to be flex. Coach Yeb's like, listen, either you're going to play that in the mid, or you're going to have a terrible EXP matchup. And they possibly force Ducky's hand into picking up the Minotaur because they don't want to have Novaria and whatever other mid they choose. They don't want to have Nolan deal with the disruption of, of the Arlot on the mid side.
And this Minotaur was one of the reasons as to how AP Bren was able to beat ONIC in the group stages of SPS.
Yeah, it can do work, of course. You know, it's in a similar fashion, you also provide some sustainability. But here's one of the answers, right? For these tanky Euros, the carry is going to be locked in and rounded out with a Grok.
Wow.
Very interesting pickups here from ONIC.
They can't go for a 5-man implosion, now they'll go for a 5-man knockup, maybe.
Yeah.
Big knockup, big damage. They have some early game potential. They have their late game covered. They have vision. They have the whole package here on the side of AP Bren. Once again, very aggressive. Very, very aggressive, but in my mind, I feel like ONIC has a lot of answers to what AP Bren is bringing.
Part of this, too, is the fact that, you know, I like the Grok not only because you're looking for wild charges, and how many wild charges have we seen actually secure objectives, right? That's one factor in it, because it adds this dynamic, too. When the Lord is up, you're already watching for one knock-up. Now you got to watch out for the wild charge, right? But also, it's a good peeling effect. Oh, here we go again.
Once again.
AP Brent pulls through with an Odette pick.
Okay, so me and Gideon were brainstorming this a lot the day that Odette got picked up.
Yep.
And a lot of it was, okay, it helps against a lot of heroes like the Joy, like the Nolan, because here's the thing. It's not, it supplies something that the Yve or the Farza could supply in a sense of zoning, but it's constant damage. You don't have to aim it. And she has the dash. She has a way to kind of dash back from the Nolan. And as long as their marksman can kind of hang out in that space, it is a very safe and free space to just unload.
Great insights once again here on both drafts as we get loaded and ready once again to head into game number 2. ONIC with a miracle play, able to take game 1 in the series, the best of 5 against AP Bren. Despite all their efforts in game 1, how will AP Bren adjust to even out the series 1-1 here as we get prepped and ready to see the series unfold one step closer to achieving that golden road for ONIC here? Looks like we're going to take a little...
There's a lot going on.
There's
you know,
a lot going
even
on.
Mobile Legends can't handle it right now.
They're taking a break here, right? They're going to figure some things out. You can still keep those off track.
Keep them off. All right, for
Keep
now.
them there for now.
Wait for the right moment.
So, the Swan Song, right?
The Swan Song.
Was the song that led them to victory.
Yeah.
In the group stages, right? Was it group stages?
No.
Knockouts 1.
Against Geek, right? Who was it up against?
Man, M5 has been a long journey.
It has been, man, but it was the counter of Joy, an assassin. It's a great pick against these assassins, and now against the Nolan, it's great. But then you take into account the Novaria, that he's going to be matching up in lane, right? That's a lot of range advantage for the Novaria, maybe even clear advantage in the early stage.
Definitely a lot of range for the Novaria, but still, I'm not too worried about Few on this Odette. Like, I think overall, I'm like kind of sold on the Odette. I'm at a point where I feel like it's just...
After one game, you're sold?
Just the idea behind it. You have the dash, you pair it up with a flicker, and then once again, it gives you the coverage that you want from that type of mage, right? That zoning, that arrow, that AoE, someone that can attack a wide zone of area, but it's not as easily targetable when it's in its alt state. Comparative to the Farza, you are a sitting duck when you're Farza, you are a sitting duck when you're Eve, and that's why those two picks have not been getting picked up, because EXP lanes are back, baby. They are divers, they are aggressors. Then you also have so many roamers, you have so many junglers that are just highly aggressive, and those are just prime targets, whereas the Odette, in the alt state, it's not. The only thing the Odette lacks, really, is laning phase. Doesn't have as much mobility as some of those other types of mages. So as long as Few can get to a safe spot where the rest of the team can group up, it is definitely going to be dangerous.
Yeah, and I like this, you know, as you talk about this, exactly the Odette, but the lineup rating right for them is pretty high. It's nearly 9 against ONIC here with that. And, you know, you look at the course of the game, how things can fall into place. That's where they play around the Odette pick, just like they did the previous time that they picked it up, you know, earlier in their earlier matches. So again,
there you go.
We'll see how it happens. We get the signal. We're going to be jumping into the Land of Dawn. Game 2 ahead of us. ONIC versus AP Bren. It's 1-0 for ONIC right now. You can already see the pressure from Keyboy.
Doing some damage. Oh, a flicker as well. Burnt out by Keyboy here. But I do want to talk a little bit more about this Odette. In the matchup that we saw previously when Few picked this up, the Odette was also picked up against the carry. So now it's an assassin and a carry, right? two very, very vulnerable targets for the Odette to catch.
Yeah, definitely very vulnerable. Carry has to try to move in, right? So it's definitely not going to be Carry's job to deal with Few. Taking a look at the emblems, nothing too out of the ordinary. Boots going for the same exact setup as last time. CW does pick up a nice defensive emblem there. Make sure that if Carry needs to, it can kind of survive a little bit of a gank there. Taking a look at these items, CW as well doesn't go for the boots, whereas Super Marco does. Super Marco also going to pick up, going to go straight into possibly the defensive boots there. So a slightly different route than normal.
Okay, speaking of, they already get the flicker out from Few, right? Putting the pressure there. Sans takes a shot, Ogren's going to block it, but you see how this time around, because Kyrie has this type of lineup to work around this Nolan pick, it allows him to farm up pretty confidently. He is a little bit ahead of Kyle Tizia as well right now, right? So Turtle's going to be up here in just a couple seconds. They'll both get in position. A lot of these still trying to get that level 4, the ultimate's available. That's why they're parking themselves in the XP lane. Both junglers lead into the Turtle.
Clear up top a bit faster for ONIC. Kaltizi looking for the setup as well, but Keyboy just pops in at Power of Nature. And a wild charge, and Keyboy gets the Turtle as well.
Wow!
Game number 1, it was 2 kills and a Turtle over to AP Bren. Game number 2 starts off with ONIC doing the same thing.
That is a big switch up from what we saw last time. This time ONIC bringing the aggression. You can tell their morale is up. I mean, after winning a game like the last one, you gotta feel good about themselves. ONIC definitely in their zone right now. AP Bren need to try to kind of get things back into the groove. It's not too huge of a loss, but it is already 2K in the first 3 minutes.
The thing about it too, well, Super Marco is going to have the pressure here, but you know, when you're talking about the mid lane picks and you're talking especially about Sans here, the Novaria, his track record on this Novaria is insane. His success rate is very good, but not only that, the fact that the way that he plays it to the point where, yes, you're topping the damage meter, you're topping, you know, you're farming up really, really well here, but also the vision that's usually on point allows this.
Wild charge flicker combo into the fracture. Kyrie gets rid of Fear, and that's another combo together. Ogwen wall down, but ONIC, they'll take this win. 4-0 Sans, canceling out the recall. Keyboy looking for an angle once again to maybe cancel another recall, but Ogwen just stays behind that turret. We'll try to facilitate Flapteezy's way back to clear this wave.
Take a look at the junglers right now. Kyrie with a 1,300 gold lead already. He's got the Hunter strike in. Whereas when we take a look at Kyle Teasy, he's got practically nothing on his side.
That's a wall down. Super Marco gonna be caught, pinched down right now with a lot of damage pumping through. Kyrie will be able to give CW the kill down below. The entire turret shield as well into an Astral Sphere and an Astral Echo, revealing Ogwen and Fuse, zoning them away for CW once again to farm up and shove the wave back to the turret.
And putting the pressure once again. Sans is just on point so far, even with the lead that he's garnered himself, right? 2-0-3 on the Novaria allows him to continue to do this, just kind of siege from, you know, the safety, from distance. That's why the Novaria is so great. But as I was saying before that fight even broke out, you know, the ability to provide vision allows even Kyrie to rotate a lot more confidently. And even Keyboy, the fact that he picked up this Croc, at this point, he's just walking vision, right? He's one of those vision getters.
He's a getter vision.
He's a getter of the vision.
And another great thing about Keyboy, why he can do this so well is when he pops that first kill, he's immune to the CC, right? So he can go into the enemy jungle without fear of the magic sump, without fear of getting knocked up. And as long as he has Sans sitting in the back lane behind him, he knows he's good. I mean, he's
take the long way.
Disgusting.
He's making Flapteezy walk to his base.
You don't get the recall. You have to walk. That's what Keyboy does. So with that, again, this is very different from the previous game, right? You're talking about now the 5 minutes in, almost 5,000 gold ahead, and you can see just how strong they are in the lanes, right? Super Marco doing a relatively, trying to keep up as much as he can, but still the pressure being put through every single lane right now as they go on.
All right, so 5K gold lead for ONIC right now. AP Bren cannot find an opening. I think they know, all right, let's take this slow. We're pretty much going to try to pull an ONIC this game. But ONIC has a composition that scales so well into the late game with CW, with Sans, with the amount of vision they can have overall. Taking a look at the item, CW, he's got the Scythe in. He's got the Golden Wand in. He's 2/3 of the way to the Holy Trinity. and it's going to be trouble once he locks that in because the rest of his team is,
Major Migration, Battle Requiem, and the Swan Song onto Keyboy.
Wow.
Final slash as well, but Keyboy gets out with a wild charge. That was Kyrie into the back of Fracture, not getting him just yet. Minute Fury, Flicker combo, boots with the penalty zone. Distracting the back line, open, barely dodging away from that last hit, but CW's rotating over already now. Immobilized under the turret, boots taken low right now. Vengeance come down with the Astral Echo with a few more hits. CW finds the kill under the tier 1 of AP Prep.
ONIC Esports goes from getting caught off guard to completely responding, finding a kill, and almost a tower for themselves.
Oh, Keyboy.
Are going to be able to make it another one?
That's a knock-up, but Keyboy's still chasing. He's chasing.
He's hungry.
Few gets the dash. Super Marco gets Few out, but all that, while that was happening, ONIC took what?
Whoa!
Keyboy with a wall onto Few.
You cannot recall right now if you're AP Bren because there's a gator hunting you down.
Final slash in the Battle Requiem, but Keyboy just charges wildly back.
He's not even stressed about it. Keyboy's like, it's okay, you can knock me up for a second, I'm good. I just wild charge away. No problems.
And now, ONIC are at their average.
This is the average, right? But now it's only 7 minutes in. It's kind of crazy to think about what that gold average is that they have leading into M5, now the 8.4K ahead. And it's flipped around. It's weird, right? You're 7-0.
Is this what these games are going to be, essentially? We're just going to go back and forth, each team starting the game off with a 10K gold lead.
And then one moment that changes everything.
Is that the possibility here?
That is a possibility.
It's one moment.
It's one moment.
If you had.
Shout out.
Moment.
Shout out
One
to Yasu.
shot.
All right, taking a look at the items once again. Few just getting that first item in. This is a problem, right?
This is.
We saw the same thing from AP Bren last time, but I would argue that AP Bren has a slightly worse composition to try to pull off what ONIC did last time. And AP Bren didn't have the scaling capabilities that ONIC has this time. CW is just getting involved into these team fights. It's only been a few minutes, and now that they're grouped up, now that they're ready to push in, it's going to present more and more of a problem.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it too, right? The fact that we talked so much about this Odette pick, but unfortunately for the game, it's really just been stopped, right? You really haven't been able to see the Swan Song do anything just yet. You see AP Brent dealing with the siege from a distance, and once again, why that Novaria pick was so great. It was so crucial for the game plan here for ONIC as they approach this game. Even with that, right, you need, when we looked at the comparison, as this Lord is just going to be taken uncontested for ONIC, when you looked at the comparison, right, the lineup power was in favor of AP Bren.
Yep.
But they have not been able to execute the lineup that they've drafted. Again, looking at Novaria here, this is why teams love this hero, and they pick it up, not only for the vision, but the insane damage early on from safety, essentially.
Yeah, and the vision just supplies so much. I mean, especially when you have a lead overall, that is when you can really just start to get the noose around the neck, right? That is when you can really just start to keep AP Bren exactly where you want them at all times. ONIC really starting to close in now.
Wow.
Gonna try to take this tier 2, and AP Bren can do nothing about it.
Rose Gold Meteor built up for CW as well, so if the Swan Song does get utilized into the back, get CW, he'll still be able to survive it. 3-man Astral Echo as the Lord marches down bottom lane, this time with the first Lord looking for one base turret. Final Smash Flicker combo, not going to be able to connect right now. CW free hits, Keyboy in the back. This might be the zone into the wild charge. Keyboy taking low, Swan Song and the Minus Fury Boots caught in enemy territory. 1v4, but Lord was able to deal with the base turret. Now Super Marco's chasing Boots, but Boots is unkillable. He just walks out of there.
The body of Smith. The BOS.
The body of Boots.
The body of
Bob.
Boots. The Bob. That's what worked there. The
So
Bob.
I have to say, still almost worth it, honestly, for ONIC. At this point, when you're that far ahead, you can toss a body under the tower as long as you get the tower. ONIC, if they want to try to close this out quick, they have to make sure those towers go down. Kyrie just stole the orange buff?
Yes, he did.
Looks like it. He's having a much better game this time around. Kyle Teasy, on the flip side, struggling this time, right? Even with the same pick, but really it's that lineup. It's the lineup difference here for ONIC this time around, and now they're the ones, right? with the 13,000 gold lead. So really, if you're trying to think about it as they get ready, is ONIC the team to just go ahead, slowly kind of whittle down the defensive of AP Bren here until that next Lord? And at the same time, they still have the tools to actually force a fight, even if it's just Sans. Give them the vision, poking them down like that.
Oh my God. He
Close
gets out very, very close. Are you telling me ONIC want to go for the
They
seat
do.
without a Lord? That they do in the mid lane. Baser are going to be taken down. Boots, penalty zone, locking him down. Wild charge. Keyboy flickering back. CW melted Ogwen.
Oh.
And now it's Kai with a fracture of His Fury. Even onto the blazing new effort. It's a double kill for Kyrie, and Super Marco is forced back. Flap TZ falls. Game number 1, they ended it in 23 minutes. Game number 2, they're looking for the end in the 11th minute. No mini waves, they have to back up. Super Marco defending with 1 H1 member. 11-1, what the heck?
Another what the heck moment for ONIC. A drastic difference from game 1, calm and collected.
Wow.
They ended quickly, 2-0 in the series.
The stadium is filling up by the minute. More and more people are flooding in to watch this series. ONIC wins game 1 in 22. They cut that in half for game number 2. 11 minutes. They did not pull what AP Bren folded last game.
11 kills, 11 minutes, 1 kill. AP Brent. There's a lot of ones.
There's a whole lot of ones. This time around, we're going to have this broken down further with our analysts. Guys, take it away.
Thanks, Naisu. It's now our time to break down the game once more, and this time a little bit more straightforward. But even so, at least now we're seeing new win conditions, and at the very least, some important win conditions here.
And the most important win condition though for the side of ONIC, the way that they drafted is to win the laning stage. You can see that when they pick up the Nolan, we know that this is a hero that can, you know, outspeed almost any jungler out there when it comes to farming speed. But there wasn't any kind of invasion that happened coming from the side of AP Bren. Now, if you're gonna be looking at the side lanes, there is the first Arlott that lane's a wash. You know, it's
not happening.
It's not happening. But carry going up against the Claw, we know that traditionally carry wins versus the Claw, especially if you know the matchup so well. And then if you're gonna be looking at the mid lane, that is when AP Bren can be seen as very, very slow. You can see Odette plus the Minotaur. If you compare that to Grok and the Varya, man, your lane prio is heavily tilted towards ONIC. And that guy again is the MVP.
I mean, you gotta give it up to Keyboy. This guy, he really, on this Grok, it's so good to see these traditional picks start to come back into this particular game, because not only is he giving vision, but he's really emphasizing the mistakes of AP Bren. Oh, you make too much of a mistake in your lane, I'm gonna make you walk back from tier 1 to tier 2 till your base.
Yeah, I think the way that they drafted it was so good. You gotta give big props to the coaching staff of ONIC Esports for identifying this good hero, because we know that there's no Grok killer yet in the side of AP Bren. Arlott, Guinevere, Claude, and Minotaur, they won't be able to actually contest this Grok. And now, if you're looking at the Grok, it counters many members on the side of AP Bren, particularly this Claude. In the team fights, it can be used to cancel the Blazing Duet, but at the same time, in the laning stage, you have so much vision together with the Novaria. The vision and information that you can get from ONIC off the roof. And then, Keyboy just steals the turtle.
I mean, once we jump into these highlights, it becomes clear how the comp is actually moving faster than it's supposed to, right? And that's something that I don't think that AP Bren was able to kind of keep up with, especially with the few again, these are minor mistakes being emphasized by Keyboy. Hey, slow down for a moment. I'm going to cancel a couple of key abilities, waste your resources, and immediately after that, you have reinforcements from Sans to ensure that it stays that way.
What I noticed from ONIC when you watch them during their MPL region is their, I call it the Avenger-esque kind of gameplay, where somebody goes in with a superhero landing, somebody one-ups that guy, and then another superhero landing. You can see that with Keyboy and Boots, and then Kyrie. It's like a fashion show, but for their skills.
A fashion show for their skills. Well, let's break it down now that we've got the post-game stats here up online. And more importantly, when we are looking through these emblems, we start to see the small, subtle differences between all of them, really.
Okay. Yeah, well, for example, we can see the Grok going in for tanky emblems, naturally, but now because of the changes in the Wilderness Blessing, you would prio that if you are actually the Grok. And interestingly, Keyboy went for the Concussive Blast. Typically, we know that you go for what? Maybe defense, maybe Quantum Charge, right? But Keyboy, he understood the situation. They need to clear the lanes faster than their opponents. And in the first few minutes of the game with this emblem, you know that they are very, very quick at clearing that lane together with the Novaria, and then they leave that lane so that he now can get into the other lanes or maybe the jungle to supplement the vision for the side of ONIC. It is actually a very smart take on how to play the Grok.
I think, a lot of people have kind of forgotten how impactful Grok can actually be, especially since nobody can really punish him at this point of time. The early game especially has been quite convincing to see that ONIC was not only able to control and squeeze the map, but more importantly, really abuse. And you see, again, mid lane not hitting level 4 in time. Support's unable to get there, and they probably should have left that first turtle. Worst yet, even the jungler was kind of feeling that pressure. Kyle really struggling to get ahead.
Exactly. When you're looking at the items, right? But what you may not notice here is at, what, 5 minutes or 8 minutes into, 6 minutes into this game, Kyrie had twice as much gold as Kaltizi. And I think that's a very massive difference that happened in the early stages that kind of just really nullified the effect of the Guinevere. The Guinevere without the farm cannot tank, and a Guinevere that cannot tank for you is, non-factor.
Yeah, and again, it's just hard to engage when your life is put at risk all the time. But let's not forget about the rich guy. By 7 minutes into the game, double the gold and farm of the Claude himself. Ooh. And that is such a big win for him. Not only did he crush the lane, but now he has scaled far past the point that he should be allowed to, especially against an Odette on the other side. He shouldn't be able to participate in these fights, and yet they were still able to make it happen. The carry going over to Sans only naturally.
Yeah, the post-second turtle rotation that you saw coming out from ONIC was actually genius. They went into the gold lane, they got the outer turret energy shields. Immediately at 4 minutes and 20 seconds, they are allowed to switch for the XP lane as well as the gold lane, allowing for even more farm for that carry because he actually soloed the outer turret shields up top. So he had what? A total of 2 turrets, technically, and then 2 outer turret energy shields. That's, stonks, as you would say.
Big stonks in a matter of fact. He even occupied the jungle as well, able to steal the core vault away, able to take River Crab for basically free, and more importantly so, just the smothering coming in from Keyboy down on the opposite side of the map to slow down that rotations. Those seconds are very precious, and they really matter. Let's have a look at the damage taken per second, right? And I think this will tell us more of what we're looking for. Yeah, Ogun was taking an absolute beating, and the same goes for Kaltizi. But even on the opposite end, right, we did see by the 6th minute, it became very clear that they were underfarmed, and the stat checking became very evident. People like Boots was getting away with super deep flicker penalty zones.
I'm actually still in disbelief on how Boots was able to survive that, especially going up against Super Marco. But then, when you look at the items and when you look at the time, the Trinity wasn't available yet for Super Marco. That's why he wasn't able to supplement the damage against the Terizla. Naturally, the Terizla can just last throughout the combo of the Claude, maybe eventually be taken out, but at that moment in time, there's no way that they can destroy the body of Smith of that Terizla.
You just get so much value from the DR, the damage reduction at that point of time. Let's not forget that dive coming in from the first inhibitor turret where they sacrificed Keyboy to make something happen. I think that was a pretty good trade, but you could really see that with all the ultimates piled up into one guy, Boots was able to just walk away, and even so, he only flickered at the very end, not at the very beginning.
And I think if this Novaria also gave so much for the side of ONIC, because not only the vision of after the ultimate, but the pokes. You can see Kaltizi getting hit by 1 Astral Sphere already puts him, what 60% HP. If that hits even Ogwin, not only is he damaged, but he's also slowed down. Then there was even a connection when I saw that after slowing down Ogwin, you can see CW just chunking on the Minotaur like it's nothing. Like he spent the whole combo, the whole duration of the ultimate to clear out the Minotaur, and that's unprecedented,
I mean, when they have that much vision as they had, you could see that the raw confidence in the decision making from ONIC was just very, very clean, very crisp, and more so without fear. With all the variables taken into account, there's nothing much that they have to do. With that being said, it looks like we've got something happening down by the stage with our host. So we're going to be throwing